All right, Genius. So, just a few words about the election of 1960. Okay, John F. Kennedy versus Richard Nixon. Okay, you know Richard Nixon. Okay, no, you don't. But look, he's a Republican. He was the vice president of Eisenhower. He has always been, since coming into national attention as a congressional candidate in 1950, through being vice president under Eisenhower, he's been one of these Republicans who has built his career on being an anti-communist, right? So that's Richard Nixon. He's up there. He's complaining about communists. Okay. Well, John F. Kennedy's doing the same thing, right? John F. Kennedy's out there making these speeches about how this Cold War. This is a battle between good and evil. And yeah, it was okay. But he's got United States, of course, is the good, and Soviet Russia is the evil. So in that sense, there's not a big difference between Nixon and Kennedy, right? There's no one out there who's like saying, maybe we should cool down. He's not at all. And in fact, he's one of these critics of the Eisenhower presidency for saying, like, there's a missile gap. You've allowed them to get ahead of us, which was not true, right? There was no missile gap, right? But John F. Kennedy is definitely styling himself as a Cold Warrior in this campaign of 1960. And he's going to do so once his presidency begins as well, okay? He's also, he's by no means Kennedy. Kennedy is by no means some kind of radical leftist. He's a progressive. He's a progressive really in the sense that FDR was. So he's willing to endorse government spending in the economy, government investment in the economy. So for things like education programs, federal aid for education is something he supported. Or he supports sort of increasing welfare programs for the elderly. Okay, so things like that, but not any kind of like wide scale welfare system. He had never come out publicly in favor of civil rights. He doesn't really show that he supports any kind of drastic social change of any kind. That's Kennedy. Okay, so he's kind of like a moderate progressive here, but definitely an anti-communist theme to his rhetoric as well. All right, and JFK, he wins. Why? Because I don't know. He's a cool guy. Okay, his wife's attractive too. That definitely helps. Look, the whole thing. So that's it. The Kennedy comes in. He's from this. First of all, also for him, that was an advantage in the campaign. He's got all the money he wants. His family is incredibly wealthy. His father was the ambassador to Britain. Sorry, his father was the ambassador to Britain under FDR, and he's kind of committed to making sure that all of his sons have pretty great political careers. Okay, so he's got all this family money behind him, and he is he's also a Harvard grad. Like so many of the people in Eisenhower's administration are from these Ivy League schools. They're from the East Coast elites. Kennedy is really kind of from the same group of people, essentially. If anything, Richard Nixon would have been kind of the outsider there. He was from a very middle class, more modest background. He didn't quite feel comfortable with all these East Coast elites. John F. Kennedy does, right? In any case, John F. Kennedy wins in 1960. He's also the first, this is significant, the first Catholic president. And this is significant because this sort of ingrained in the American culture so much anti-Catholicism, so much suspicion of Catholics. Okay, and even Kennedy has to kind of try to speak to that concern during the campaign, promising that he would never do something because a bishop told him to do it, something to that effect, right? Which honestly, if we're gonna think about this, right, if we believe in a religious right or wrong, the moral structure established by our religion, we wouldn't want to alienate that. We would want our moral framework to be a part of our decision-making process always, right? John F. Kennedy seems to suggest that he would sort of like bifurcate his religious beliefs from his decision-making as president. And I think that's a little problematic. But in any case, it does speak to the fact that America has come a long way in terms of not being so anti-Catholic. The fact that they elect this Catholic, Irish Catholic guy from Boston area, from Massachusetts. Okay. All right. So there he is. Here he's coming. Kennedy era. All right.